Dan has a business similar to mine, I guess, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where it's called SPNC. I'm just going to turn it over to Dan. He can explain a little bit more what he does and give us a little talk before our panel discussion.
I'd rather hear you do it, see what you think I do. Good afternoon. Has everybody got enough blood in their head to make it work, or is it still in your butt? Do you need to stand up for a second, or what's that? Closer? My apologies. So do I say butt again? Did you get that? Okay. I didn't go ahead and prepare any kind of fantastic presentation. Normally when I do that, when I put slides on the screen, it won't stay because the time I was given is 15 minutes. This will officially be the shortest presentation I've ever done. And I have no idea how I'm going to get it accomplished. So when it said making tough decisions for the 2023 crop, everybody has a different definition of tough decisions, don't they? The one interesting thing I've been finding out in the last 2 years, with last fall and this fall moving into this season, has been the challenges that we have from trying to manage nutrients. We recognize that nutrients are huge in our costs, right? Especially the dry programs and the cost of application and all the pieces. Well, it's very interesting. I have done this for a long time, and people are like, when are you going to write the book? When are you going to get the videos done? I'm like, I don't know, one day. For 20 years I've been trying to figure out how to do that. Well, the people who work with me have also been trying to help me figure out how to do that. I said, can't somebody just come into my office and push the button on the phone and tape something? Won't that go onto a computer somewhere? I mean, that's how challenged those of us of age are, really. We don't understand that. So I was just sitting there and realized that I have been on Zoom meetings for people for ages, and I could actually just turn on Zoom, hit the record button, and record a video. And then when you're done, you just put it on YouTube, and then through magic of somebody else crunching things, it goes somewhere. So on my website, which is SPNC Corp, that's 2 C's in the center, spnccorp.com, about a week and a half ago, I figured out that I could do this, and so for an average of about a 10-minute video, I put 19 videos on less than 24 hours. And the first 2 videos, which are on the website, I said, make sure that you put up how to read a soil test, which is a 32-minute video, like breaking the rules from the start. Everybody wants the 10-minute ones, but they're like, oh, no big deal. We really would like to learn how to read a soil test, so 32 minutes isn't a big deal. And then the one right behind it, how much P and K is enough? Now, you want to start a firestorm on the internet with farmers? I had a guy call me by Saturday morning, those went on Wednesday, he says, you realize you're on Ag Talk and it's already getting ugly? And I said, well, it's about time, right? So, one of the things I just wanted to address real quickly, because I know it's an issue, especially in this region where we have the Des Moines lobe that happens to be a little lower in potash, but we have people all over the country saying how much is enough. And so if you want to get an idea of what I have seen over time, you can go to the website and play how much P and K. But the potassium, especially because phosphorus we don't worry too much about. Biology is very, very good at releasing phosphorus for your soil. And so all I have to do is get it close to the root masses, get the biology to be fed, as information that you've seen today, a little bit with what Liz said, and then the reality of what plants are doing to feed those microbes, because we recognize that even though soils are designed to feed plants, plants are designed to feed soils in return, and I've been preaching that for years to people and help them understand it. And the whole point being is, if plants are capable of finding enough potassium or phosphorus to get the job done in time, that's all that's really necessary. And so by means of banding, actually putting in a little potash if you want to, coming back and increasing root masses. I mean, one of the most fascinating things is people always show pictures of root masses. Now, how many of you would rather see a bigger root mass than a smaller one? Let me see your hand. Okay, now common sense tells you, if you double, triple, or quadruple a root mass in the same given area, do you have more nutrients in the plant or less? Doesn't take a genius to figure that out, right? If you're digging in more areas, you find more stuff. If you develop a deeper root mass, do you have more or less nutrition in the soil? And one of the things I've helped people understand is your objective is not to make numbers on a soil test continually go up by your costs by buying fertilizer. Do you really want the nutrients in your soil, or do you want the nutrients in your plant? And this is hard for people to accept because it's like, well, I know that I'm buying all this material and it has to be doing everything that they're telling me it is, and it has to be paying its way. Really? I mean, I've actually had people, I've asked them to put on 150, 300, 500, 600 pounds across the field, come back that following year, and I said, show me the boxes on your yield monitor data where your levels went up of yield, way, way, way up. Has anybody ever tried that? And if so, did it work? I still have yet to see anybody show me that it worked yet. So the whole point is, as we're trying to figure this out, we're trying to say, people ask me, should I be doing replacement? Should I be doing increase? You know, I stopped last night and just did one little quick Google search on how much potash would be in a percentage of grain coming off the field. And the first one I stumbled across was the people that are starting to look at it and actually physically go out and doing 2,500 different tests with grain across the country. And what they're telling us now is it looks like the old numbers that we used for years were too high. I figured roughly based on the 0.25% for potash and 0.37% for phosphate, a 300 bushel crop's going to take off about 45 to 50 pounds off the field in grain. Now that doesn't mean it's only 45 or 50 pounds to grow it. That's what it took off. But we're sitting out here trying to put on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds in multiple years, saying that it's going to give us more return on investment. And it doesn't. If we just put on a minimal amount at the beginning of the year to get it to dissolve, has anyone in here actually ever seen a 0 on a soil test in the potash? Has anyone ever actually taken off a 300 bushel crop, did the testing before you started, and then at the end see a 50 pound less potash number at the end of the season? No, not exactly. It doesn't happen that way. Has anybody ever grown alfalfa? Have you ever seen your phosphate levels go to 0? Even though you know that it might start out at 35 pounds at the beginning of the season, you take off 8 tons, and at the end of the season it might have gone down to 28, and by next season it's back up to 32. Has anyone ever seen it go to 0? No. So in a sense, there's misnumeration in our heads as to what really is out there. We know that in most soils, we have somewhere in the vicinity of anywhere from 20 to 50 or 60,000 pounds of mineralizable potash in the top 0 to 6 inches. In parts of Indiana where I'm from, it's not uncommon to think there's about at least 55,000 pounds in the top 0 to 6 inches. And for phosphate, it could be 6,000 to 10,000. On an average, probably somewhere around 2,500 to 5,000. That's minerals that can be mineralized and turned into the available portion, which is what we're looking at on the soil test. So how could 55,000 pounds being there, when we go out there and put on 150 pounds of 0060, which is 90 pounds of potassium, how could that number change my soil test? If all I do is just get shrinking and swelling, freezing and thawing of my clay minerals where they're held, and my roots go down there, and I do a better job of growing roots consistently, and I get them to explore more area, and I get biology to work around those roots, releasing acids and enzymes that will also help break those out. If that's actually a creation, it's designed to be mined, mining as a good word, not the bad word that most of your landowners or friends and neighbors might talk about. Oh, that guy mines soil. You don't want him farming your farm. He's a miner. Plants are designed to mine soils. If they don't mine soils, we don't make anything. But we have to have enough confidence to understand that the difference isn't in the actual physical number. It's in recognizing that there's more there than we actually understand. and figuring out systems and programs to release it. So if you had a soil, like in here, I mean, locally, I know you have some CECs, the holding capacity of your soil could be 25 to 50. And you might have 300 parts per million. Now, if you're on a soil test, if you get a part per million number based on a couple of assumptions, 1 part per million is 2 pounds per acre. So if it's 300 parts per million, how many pounds per acre do you have? 600. Doesn't take too much of a genius to figure that out. Is 600 enough to grow a 300 bushel crop? Yeah. So if you have some on your soil test report and you still have a hard time believing it's a real number, what's wrong with putting on 100 pounds? Nothing. Not a thing. That doesn't mean I'm standing up here and judging you as to what you should or shouldn't do. You just have to realize that that's all real dollars. And are there ways that I can actually make this thing work for me? Can I actually program my soil, if it's possible, with these microbes to release nutrition? Are microbes actually the go-between, the communicators between a dead base of minerals with elements in them and a living plant asking for those minerals and elements to be released? Are these the mediators? The answer is yes. And we know a lot about all that. We're not going to bore you with it today. Some of it's kind of exciting. But the reality of it is, when you see these pieces of information that are put up on the screen, people would have to be working really hard to make this stuff up. Really hard. I mean, it's like something off of Star Trek. And when you understand that this is all about how the cycle of things that work on the planet, life and death, seasons and seasons, everything has its way, and everything has a purpose. And these pieces that we're talking about are a part of that big purpose. And if we're going to accomplish some of the ideals that we've expressed here today, they're going to have to come from some of these purposes. Okay? So I'm going to be on the discussion panel. There's a whole lot more to be said and a whole lot more to be discussed. And so if you have questions about that, then, well, I guess we're going to get to that, or if you want to check in with me or something on the website, whatever, just check in. But please, do not be scared to ask the really hard question. If I haven't put on potash for 2 years, am I going to lose my farm? I hear that all the time. And if you need to ask that question, you ask it. Because I'm going to stand here and tell you, you're not going to lose the farm. Okay? Everything's going to be okay. Even if you have a hiccup, it's not going to be a bad one. You'll be okay. All right? Thank you.